Hello, Sugar Plums. It's your friend Evelyn, and I'm here with you for a different type of video. I'm going to give you 5 tips on dealing with loss or grief throughout the holiday season. But before I get into that, I'm going to give you a bonus tip, tell you why I'm even doing this, and go through those 5 tips, and then leave you with some more resources in case you need them. So let's get into it. The first tip is really kind of a launching point, the bonus one. And that is basically accepting where you are and accepting the fact that you are grieving a loss. And loss is more than the loss of a loved one departing from this earth. It can be the loss of a relationship, whether a family relationship or intimate relationship. It could definitely be the loss of a pet. It could be the change of an environment, like the loss of a career or moving, or even the change within a relationship. Maybe you've not lost the relationship, but maybe the dynamics of it have changed. And that could be anything from finding out a loved one has a terminal illness or is moving, where it means just that relationship is going to change. So expectations have changed and you're grieving or that loss. So that would be my bonus tip, is one, accepting that loss can be it can be that of loss of someone leaving this earth, or it could be a number of any of those other things, and accepting that you are dealing with a loss. So why? Let's jump into the why. I'm going to try to keep this video as short as I can, but I want you to understand that I have tried to record this, or have recorded this video at least 6 times, because it has so many dynamics to it that keep unfolding, and we're just going to put the stake here and go with it. So the why. I have noticed that I have some of my own loved ones, most of them friends, who have lost a parent, and I realized that their grieving process, I've watched it change, and I have realized that kind of a little bit around the October, sometime within that month to the end of the year, is where I notice that I don't hear from them. They kind of go into inward reflection time, and we don't get to connect throughout that time. And over the years, I realized that it might have something to do with the holidays. So in seeing that from my friends, in my heart going out to my friends as well, because I've dealt with loss a lot within my life. It started with that fun aunt that I had, and I think I might have been around the age of 8 or 9 when she parted, and that was my first time really dealing with the concept of death. And since then, it's been many more people, but more recently, I had an aunt that I went to go see in May, and I vlogged and never showed that vlog because I knew that relationship was changing from what I knew and expected it to be. And then she passed away in November. So before we get into my 5 tips, I'm going to leave a time marker right here. So if you don't want to watch this vlog, you can go ahead and just go to the 5 tips. So go to this time if you don't want to watch it. But if you want to see the vlog and see kind of a different way that I've processed my most recent loss, then stay tuned. We're gonna just watch that clip right here. Hey guys, I just got a chance to see my aunt and my uncle, and it was a really good visit. I hate, like, my aunt is a picture person. She is a video person. I actually, in my childhood, remember she's the only person I remember ever having like a camcorder out of like both sides of my family. I remember her being like one of the first. It's a good visit. It was a really good visit. I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to see them. As I said, this is my first time ever being able to go to their house. Like I always would see them where I grew up. Like they would come from California like the area I grew up in, and this is my first time ever being at their house, ever seeing them here in California. And my aunt is not, she's ill. She is sick. But I'm crying because of the love that I got to see my uncle display for her and the wisdom that he has. It was just so encouraging to see him take care of her the way that he is. And my uncle was asking me about my husband, and kind of telling me like, make sure you lift him up and make sure you talk positive about your husband, stuff like that. And like, not that I was talking negative about him, just like I was describing him. I was like, yeah, my husband's short. He's like shorter than me. And he's like, don't beat him up, because he like, don't beat him down about being short. So he was like, make sure you always uplift him, make sure you always speak positive of him. And just speaking so good, and just encouraging my aunt as she was speaking and things like that. And it was just encouraging, because this is like, once you become older, you see certain aunts and uncles, you can kind of tell those aunts and uncles who claim you as their own. Like, you are my niece, you are my nephew. And then sometimes you have certain aunts and uncles that might be distant because you're not their brother or sister's child. Like, they've married, they're married, they consider themselves married into the family. But he has always been so loving and caring. And he just reminded me, he's like, as I was talking to him about my husband, he was like, does he love you and take care of you? Like, that's what he said to me. Does he love you and take care of you? It's like, he's like, all the other stuff is great, but does he love you and take care of you? And to hear my uncle ask me that, and for me to know who he is and what he does and how he loves, was just so heartwarming to me. So I just wanted to be authentic and share that even though my aunt's health is not 100%, I feel so blessed that she has her husband, and I feel so blessed that he has her, and that he, even though he, like, his just his background has been in medical care, so like, he just, God has had a hand in it. So I just wanted to authentically share that. Part of this may be edited, so this just makes sense because my emotions are kind of like high, you know, as far as being overwhelmed with gratitude to the point of tears. I think this probably might be a first, but I want to point it out because I think sometimes when we're in hard situations, we're not able to see where God's hand is. And if you're in a hard situation right now, I encourage you to pray and ask God where his hand is and what your choices truly are, and for him to help your mind and your heart see what he has for you to see. So I'm gonna rest in these thoughts and this gratitude. Okay, so if you watched that clip, thank you for getting a little intimate with me. If not, that's okay. Let's get into the 5 tips. So I also want to let you know that these 5 tips have been compiled by me consulting with someone that is near and dear to my heart. She is has her doctorate, and she consults on mental health and around mental health. And so we have kind of chatted about loss, and she gave me a lot of great information, and I from that package that up into these 5 tips for you. So I will make sure that her info is down below. Tip number 1 is about the stages of grief. To know that, yeah, there are a list of stages of grief, and to understand that that is a theory created by a man, and that there is no normal when it comes to going through a grieving process, and there is also no timeline. So to give yourself the ability to handle it the way that you handle it, to not judge yourself or be guilty for the way that you're handling your grief, and definitely looking for tools to handle whatever stage you're in, as far as writing where you are and talking to someone about where you are. So that would be tip number 1, and that is just basically accepting your process. Tip number 2 is prepare as much as possible. And then this is really where it gets specific about the holidays. And that is really thinking about what dynamic this loss might have on your holiday. If it was a person that hosted things for the holiday, really preparing ahead of time, who's going to do what. Who's going to prepare this because now this loved one is not here, and just really being open to accept or to move into whatever your new normal will be. That's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to give yourself permission to take a break or say no. Okay, Dr. Scott said, giving yourself permission to tap out. And basically, you know, especially around the holidays, there's a lot going on. A lot of people have a lot of expectations on themselves and on others. And so just giving yourself that okay to not attend everything if you're not ready. The okay to, if, you know, people want to do a memorial and you're not ready, it's okay to say not yet, or maybe this person in our family can be there for that if you're not ready for those things. Or just having the mindset of understanding that you should not do anything that does not serve your grieving process or you. So that would be tip number 3. Tip number 4 would be to ask for support. It is okay to reach out to those in your family and wherever you are. I think a lot of times we don't want to reach out to friends because we don't want to bother them with our feelings. One thing Dr. Scott even said is realizing, even when you go back to the workplace, that sometimes your workload or how you do things at work might need to change. You might need a little support from your team or management, and knowing that that's okay, and also knowing that it's needed for you to ask for support, because they won't know how they can support you unless you let them know. So number 4, ask for support at home, school, work, or wherever you are. And number 5 is a really interesting one, and very, I would say, the planner in me really accepted this one. And that was to distract yourself when necessary and find the time to grieve. And the way that Dr. Scott explained this to me was just so awesome. Not because I'm in like this season of life, but it just made so much sense to me, because I did lose a family member while I lost multiple family members, actually a total of 4 family members while I was in college. And then a major relationship in there too. So what her example was, you may be in the middle of taking a final exam, and you're starting to feel like sorrow or your emotions wallowing up in the middle of this test or exam, and at that moment you have a responsibility that needs to get done. And she said that at times like that, it's okay to suppress feelings, but it's important that you come back to allowing yourself the time to process that, or to allow yourself to feel those feelings. So she said, if you have to write it down and plan, I am going to allow myself to grieve, for 30 minutes this day. And I just, at first I was like, what? Like, planning down, like when you're just gonna sit in those emotions? But then it made sense to me. It's like, otherwise, if you're suppressing them and just moving on, when will you get to them? And when will you face them? Just because I know that, I even had a time in my life where we lost a great aunt, and my sister was having a baby shower, and I was pregnant. And going through preparing for her baby shower, it just was too much emotions happening at one time, and I didn't allow myself to feel those feelings, and I just broke down in the middle of setting up for her baby shower. And going back to that and thinking about that, I was, it just hit me, it dawned upon me, if I had allowed myself some time before we got ready for that, things may have turned out differently. Not for sure, but there could have been a different outcome, because I had been suppressing and suppressing and suppressing. So that really resonated with me. So those are your 5 tips. If you are looking for some more information about the grief process, Dr. Scott actually has a worksheet that she has put together, and that's going to be in the links below, as well as a podcast that you can follow that she is a part of. So I want you to make sure you check out those links if you need them. Otherwise, if you are looking for more research, more resources, definitely looking out to a licensed professional. Outside of that, I definitely want to start up a conversation. Let me know if you've seen any thing, or if you yourself are handling loss in the holidays. If there's any encouragement that you might have to someone else who might be experiencing grieving while they're going through the holidays, any tips you may have had that are healthy and work for you, to also drop that in the comments below. But I just really wanted to make sure I open that conversation up and give you guys a space to encourage one another, and for me to have a space to encourage you and receive encouragement. As I said, that some things are still new for me as well, while this was on my heart, because it really hit me back in May, but I was even suppressing doing the video. So hope this has been a benefit to you, and that this will allow you to definitely handle your process in a different way. So until next time, I hope you enjoy your holiday season and your planning time. Bye.